Hello everybody. So a couple of months ago, Kirky and myself, Mr. Barry Lewis behind the camera there, come up with the idea of doing a wee Kilmarnock music walkthrough video. So we're going to take you around some of the venues in Kilmarnock, some important places that have been obviously really important to the Kilmarnock music scene in the past and still in the present. Some of the venues are no longer there, but we'll show you where they were and try and mention some of the bands that played there and a bit of history behind them. Predominantly it's going to be the 80s because that's where we grew up, but we'll get into the 90s and the 2000s and try and take it a wee bit up to date. So what better place to start than where it started for us, which was the Gateway behind us here now. Sadly no longer used as a venue, but in the 80s it's where all the cool kids hung out. And we kind of first met, I suppose. Well, we first met at a Clash gig.
That's true.
But we kind of got to know each other here. But so Mr. Kirk here will tell you a wee bit about the place.
If you were a teenager in the 80s, there wasn't a great deal today, and we were at an age where we were too old to go to youth clubs and too young to go to pubs. So on a Sunday night, this place used to be band zone for teenagers. And I suppose this is the place where a lot of teenagers in Kilmarnock get their first experience of live music, whether they were on the stage or in the audience. It was run by the Kilmarnock Council, and it was a great idea. You paid 50 pence, and for that you got a rolling sausage, and I think a drink of juice or that, and the opportunity to see a band played by people your own age. So it was a fantastic idea for the council, and it's shameful now that they don't have things like that in Kilmarnock anymore.
I really liked the rolls and sausage.
I know that.
Clearly.
Some of the bands that played here, that played their earliest ever gigs here, yourself.
Well, the Legion did their first ever gig supporting the Burning.
The Burning.
Longhorns.
The Longhorns.
Blind Jeffersons.
Gravesend.
Yep.
And did the Plug Hole ever play here?
I think it was still Gravesend at the time. I think maybe Plug Holes or maybe just
but a lot of people, their first opportunity to play live
Disaster for Penguins.
was in this wee place, and when you see inside it, it was never really that big. No. But when we were teenagers, you thought it was Hammersmith Odeon.
Oh aye, it was a great place, and it was run by a guy, Alec Pettigrew, a lovely man, and the janitor, Mr. Jim Mackay. What a fantastic guy. Really, really nice guy. These guys, Alec and Jim, just gave up their time and were so great with the youngsters, and you know, really helpful and just really, really nice guys. And we need more people like that about.
And it was a great meeting place for people of our age who were all into the same thing. We all liked music, and every Sunday night this was the place to be, the Gateway.
So here we are. This is the site of the Sandreanne, which again is no longer here. This was predominantly a rock venue, a kind of biker's pub, I suppose. Bands like the Penetrations, very well known, and an excellent band actually, played here. 70s, alongside bands like Heroes, Colourblind, Joe Lethal. Bands like those. I was a wee bit young to get into it in those days, but kind of in the 80s, other bands like ourselves and Blood Red Roses, etc., played in here as well. It became Cheers, I think, after
I remember that. Cheers coming to see. The Burning played in here, and Last Year's Men, the original Last Year's Men, played in here, and Wild Bill played in here. And I always remember, I can't ever remember being in the Sandreanne, but I remember being in Cheers, and there was a fish pond in the middle of the...
I'm surprised they didn't go for a wee swim.
There was a fish pond in the middle of the kind of dance floor bit. I always thought it was a bit bizarre. But it was a good wee venue.
Aye,
but it was really a wee bit before your time, I would say.
It probably was, but still another important music venue in Kilmarnock, absolutely. But yeah, Sandreanne, folks.
And the Penetrations are still going.
Oh, aye, absolutely, aye.
So, Big Jordy, if you're watching.
So, as you can see, we're here at the headquarters of East Ayrshire Council in London Road. But before that, this was the site of the James Hamilton Academy. And when the new James Hamilton was built up in New Farm, this place was used for local bands to rehearse and just kind of hang out.
In 1985, the Kilmarnock and Loudoun District Council put on a 3-day festival here featuring bands like the Legion, the Burning, the Longhorns, the Naya Fierties. And on a Saturday morning, everybody used to congregate here for rehearsals, and we spent many happy times in
We
here.
did, with some good times here.
The kind of early to mid-80s. Happy times.
I remember a Sunday afternoon coming down here and rehearsing, kind of hungover. Not me, I wasn't rehearsing, but some of the other bands in Killie rehearsed here and coming down here after a heavy night at Air Pavilion. Good times though.
I have a great memory of your drummer, Neil Ramsey, turning up with his drum kit on the back of a wee moped.
I think I remember that as well. So, so that's the old Jimmy. On to the next venue. So here we are in Glencairn Square in Kilmarnock, and this was the site of the main rehearsal and recording studios in Kilmarnock throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s. It was originally called Sorco, named after the band of the same name, and the prime movers in that organisation were Spike Bain, George Cowan and Clark Sorley, who started the studios up. And obviously guys like Ian Murray and Larry Primrose and Big Popper, they were heavily involved. And the rehearsal rooms were this side. When we rehearsed there, it was like 3 bands to a room. You had your own room, you kept your gear in it, you had your own keys. Brilliant, great place to rehearse. And there was 4 rooms downstairs and four up the stairs, if I remember rightly. And then this side, upstairs, is where the recording studio was. And we recorded a lot of demos there with the Legion and Southern Approach. And the first one, Ian Murray had mixed it for us and recorded it, and he was brilliant, Ian, because we were all novices, and he was really patient, and he showed us how things could be done. And George Cowan came in and helped us out. And these older guys were really instrumental in helping us young guys out, showing how to record things, how to mix things, how to do things properly. You like to think you can. These older guys, and guys like the Penetrations were brilliant for Southern Approach as well. Big Geordie was a massive influence in me, helping the young guy out. And I like to think you kind of pass that on to younger bands as well. But and then after Sorco, of course, Mr. Kirkle, I'll tell you what happened then.
Once the Trash Can Sinatras had signed to Go Disc, they purchased this studio and renamed it Shabby Road. And the Shabby Road sign actually was over that window. And I always remember, no long after they had purchased it, I used to be in with loads of different bands, and Frank, who was the singer of the Trash Cans, was sitting in the office. And we always went in for a wee blether, talked about music and that. And he said his sister was in a band. And I said, oh, what are they calling that? And he said, Fairground Attraction. And sitting on the back of the NME or the Sounds, whatever music paper it was an advert for the first album, First of a Million Kisses. And he goes, that's their advert there. And at that time I'd never heard of them. And they went on to have a #1 hit with Perfect. But this was, they named it Shabby Road, and it was shabby because in the winter it was freezing, and then you got a lot of guys in different rooms sweating away for 3 hours, and the place was stinking. But it had its own kind of atmosphere. It was a great wee place, and you can actually see the stairs going up to the back there. There's a picture of that included in the Trash Can Sinatra's best album, which was I've Seen Everything. The picture was taken there. And Aztec Camera recorded the first ever demo here, and Barry McGuigan and the Boxer recorded a record here. So, and I always remember where Davy's standing. One time I was walking in, and Michael Ochiltree, who was a drummer with Simple Minds, was standing right there. And he was a local guy. And what was I going to say? At that time, he might have been playing with Disaster for Penguins. I remember seeing him at the Gateway playing with them. So it was a great wee studio, and it was really the only studio in Kilmarnock. So all the bands eventually came here at some point to record demos and that. So
yeah,
happy times. Happy times.
Everyone rehearsed here and met up here.
And the Trash Cans recorded I've Seen Everything
yeah,
here.
They did. And it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it here. And again, sadly, it's flats now.
Sadly,
flats.
it's no longer a recording studio
No
or
longer
a
recording
rehearsal room.
rooms, but it was a great place.
It's
So,
flats.
Sorco and Shabby Road Studios.
Kilmarnock doesn't really have a recording studio now.
Well, it's got a good rehearsal space. Messi Studios is great, and you can rehearse, record there as well. So, you know, Jordan does a great job in there. So it has got that at least. It's a great wee place to rehearse in there. I'd highly recommend it. So, but this is the old.
Lots
this is
of
the old
happy,
place.
lots of happy memories here. Oh, Shabby Road in Sorco.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next venue. So we're still in Glencairn Square. We're just across the road from Shabby Road, and this is the Hunting Lodge, or it was the Hunting Lodge. It's now Maggie's Bar and Kitchen and the Glencairn Suite. There wasn't a massive amount of bands played here, really, but it did have a really good jazz club, if you like, that sort of thing in the 80s, which was down the stairs. But there was quite a few bands played there.
I think it had a wee spell where bands played and then it had long periods when nothing happened. But the Liberty Cage played in here, were formerly the Men That Couldn't Hang. Dave Sharp with Alarm played in here, the Godfathers. Can you think anybody else?
Barky, a couple of boys from Cumbernauld, they were really good.
Captain America.
Captain America played here.
Pearl Fishers played in here. But that was all in a kind of short space of time.
Yeah.
And then there was long periods when none happened. In the 80s, the Dead Neighbours come down for, I think it was up Greenock way they came for, and the Burning supported them in here. And it was a great venue because it's a big giant hall up there.
I've played it a few times. It's a really good venue to play.
And now it's used for weddings,
parties
like
and stuff like that.
Weddings, parties, anything.
Yeah, anything goes.
So, but it's another venue. It was a good music venue that is not really used for music anymore.
It's probably because it was just that wee bit further out of town. Maybe, I don't know, people didn't want to travel too far or travel too much, but good space to play there. Definitely a good space to play.
It was a decent size, aye.
And I don't know whether the guys would allow it to be used for music. They probably would. But certainly been to a few parties in there and it was good. It's great.
We have that.
So that was the Hunting Lodge, folks. On to the next venue.
On to the next one. We're now standing in the site of the Howard Park, and back in the 80s, we wouldn't be able to stand here because this place here was where the bandstand was. And in the mid-80s, they used to have music festivals on here that were run by the council, and they were always well attended, and in excess of 1,000 folk used to come to the events. And Kilmarnock had its own Live Aid here, and everything was for charity, everything was all well organised, and the bands were all fantastic. And sadly, as you can see now, no bandstand, no people.
I used to get a crowd of folk, loads of folk came, in, young and old, and in those days you could drink obviously outside. The laws have changed now, but on the concrete here, on the grass, usually it was a nice day, bit of a downpour for about half an hour in the first festival, but there was some great bands played, and it was just really well organised, and it just stopped. Why it stopped, I don't know. Council cuts, who knows? But it just seemed to stop. But some of the bands that played, there was Southern Approach, there was Mind Gorillas, there was Blood Red Roses, there was Penetrations, Menace, Geisha Boys, Teak, Whiskey Preachers, Flat Stanley, Stormbringer, Midnight Buskers played, and
Doogie for the Buskers and Roddy for the Longhorns done a version
that's
of
right.
I Fought the Law.
I Fought the Law, that's right. They weren't supposed to be playing.
I was going to say the class here, but it was...
They weren't supposed to be playing, but they just jumped on.
From Buddy Holly and the Crickets wrote I Fought the Law.
But I mean, look at the place. It's like a natural kind of venue for a gig, and the bandstand being here was just, it was brilliant. Easy access to bring gear in.
We would like it to come back.
So
because it was a fantastic day.
If you're watching and you're from the council, maybe look into it, and we're happy to help. We'd be happy to give a helping hand.
Yes, we certainly would.
With something like that, maybe a Saturday afternoon, you know, from 1 till 5, a 4-hour slot. But you'd have to bring a mobile stage in, but it wouldn't be hard to do, surely.
No, that's not hard to do.
Surely.
And there's plenty of young bands round about who would love to play something like this, a wee bit of exposure for them.
Aye. Then at night you could have a couple of pubs in the town putting bands on, the Fanny Gas Lights, Tartan Suite, you know.
And when you think tunes round about Kilmarnock, Presswick, Ayr,
Troon,
Troon all have music festivals of their own.
Dalrymple,
and
Carmichael,
we really
Adair's.
don't have anything
No,
like that
there's
here.
nothing.
So,
There's nothing. Maybe we should get off our backsides and do something about it then.
well, maybe the council should too.
Exactly.
Aye.
But we will. But this
We
is
are
it.
getting off our backsides and doing something
We are
about
doing
it.
it.
We're talking about it.
We're talking about it. Aye.
Yeah.
We're getting old, you see.
Talk
We need
is
some-
cheap though.
We need some young.
Aye.
We need some young blood to help us out. But, no, so this is it. Howard Park Fairs. Can you imagine this though? A Saturday afternoon in July or
It was
June.
packed,
You know,
packed,
sunny
aye.
day like this.
Aye.
Maybe the council would relax the drinking laws for
Fantastic
5
days.
hours.
Aye.
It'd be fantastic. It'd be brilliant.
Bring back the Howard Park Festival.
bring it back.
That's what we say.
We want it back, and we want it back next year.
Aye.
Right? No arguments. Get it back. Howard Park. So here we are outside the Park Tavern. Now, in the 80s, there wasn't many bands played here, but all the kind of band people kind of congregated here. All the kind of local students and younger people and people who are interested in music. It was a pretty busy pub on a Friday and Saturday night here.
And to my knowledge, Biffy Clyro played their first ever gig in East Kilbride at the Arts Centre, but their second ever gig was in here, the Park Tavern. To my recollection, it wasn't that busy, but there were 3 young guys starting on the road to rock and roll, and look at them now. Fantastic band, have made some fantastic albums, and Kilmarnock's very proud of them.
So here we are at Kilmarnock's largest venue, the Grand Hall and the Palace Theatre Complex.
In the 1960s, bands like Marmalade, Desmond Dekker, Gino Washington all played here. And in 1969, when Space Oddity was in the charts, David Bowie played here. On the 27th of January 1973, the Suite played here and there was a riot, and it is thought that the song Ballroom Blitz was written about the riot that night. In the late 70s, Stiff Little Fingers were due to play at the Kilmarnock Grand Hall, but the gig was moved to Troon Town Hall as the band were banned from playing here, and the reason given in the Kilmarnock Standard was because they were Irish. I must mention Gus Steele, who was a Kilmarnock councillor at the time, because he used to drink in the Charleston and New Farm along with a whole load of other folk, including myself. And he came up to us one night and said to us, "What bands would you like at the Grand Hall?" At that time we were into the Cult and the Alarm, and he got both of them to come to the Grand Hall.
And there was loads of other bands, of course, at that time. The Pogues, House Martins played here, and then obviously laterally we had the Damned and Stiff Little Fingers. There was loads of local gigs here as well, and in the Palace Theatre. Remember with Southern Approach, I think we were still the Legion at the time. We played with the Penetrations in there, which was great. It's a great venue in there. Of course, that was all seated. And then, of course, the council recently have had some really good bands playing here as well. Kasabian played here.
David Gray, Johnny Marr,
Yeah.
Darkness.
That's right. Libertines.
The Libertines,
Yeah.
Primal Scream,
Yeah.
the Proclaimers.
So there's been some great bands. Bob Geldof played
Bob
in here as
Geldof
well.
played in here.
AC/DC played here.
I didn't ken that.
I think AC/DC
I
played
think you
here.
might be right. I think you might be right.
Aye, I'm pretty sure they did.
I think you might be right.
We could be wrong.
But you never know.
But yes, it's a venue I think that really needs to be utilised in Kilmarnock. The council are obviously trying to do that, but it's such a great venue. And
And
really,
the last time we were in here was to see John Lydon from
That's
the
right.
Sex Pistols and Public Image.
and he's talking tour.
And that was an enjoyable night.
It was good. It was a good night indeed. Aye. So, yeah, Grand Hall, Palace Theatre.
Bring more bands to the Grand Hall.
Yes, please.
We're now standing outside what was formerly Vicky's. And in 1987, Mark Gilroy and Jim Monaghan, who later became the Trash Can Sinatra's manager, put gigs on in here. And in 1987, I stayed in London, so.
Down to me then. So yeah, Martin and Jim did a great job of bringing bands here. Some fantastic bands played in here. So basically, it was a Friday night and a Sunday night. A Saturday night was the more kind of mainstream kind of disco nights they had on in here. But bands such as Primal Scream played here, The Shaman played here, BMX Bandits, Flesh for Lulu, the
Baby's Got a
Proclaimers. Baby's got a gun. I think Baby's got a gun.
And
Baby's got a gun. The flog hole supported that night, and it turned into a riot that night. I remember, even made the local paper, if I remember rightly. But there was loads of bands, and local bands playing here. Longhorns played here, Southern Approach played here, Sherbert Fountains played here, Salt Cellar, Trash Cans, I think. I think I'm not 100% sure about that. Blood Red Roses played here. But it was a great place for everybody to come along. Playing Jefferson's definitely played here, Plug Holes definitely played here.
I seen the first time I ever seen the Plug Holes was actually in here. Me and Paul came down, and after 2 songs we left, but I've already told Scott that, so sorry, big man.
But Martin and Jim brought some great bands here, and it really was a kind of hub for a good while.
And after Vicky's, it became the Bond. And bands like Last Year's Men played in here at Christmas time. I remember that. And I remember seeing the Longhorns in here. And actually around the corner, when Last Year's Men reformed, that was the first place they played. And they were supported by wee Kevin McIntosh and Dougie Adam. And that was a great night.
Yeah, but the nights in here were just excellent. A bit hazy, I must admit, back in the day, a wee bit hazy. But it was reasonable price to get in those days, and just great fun and like-minded people, you know, just a great place to go.
I was mad because all the good bands came here and I'd already left and moved to London, so.
I know. Typical, isn't it?
Typical.
So this was Vicky's. It's now, well, the front part is now Cafe Da Vinci, the Italian restaurant, which is pretty good, by the way. Aye, I like it.
And the rest is a council building?
Aye, council offices in there as well. But yeah, again, another great venue lost to the town. So it's sad its demise, but I suppose these things happen. So, Vicky's.
We're now standing outside Fanny Gas Lights, which was basically a kind of rock venue, and it still has bands on today. They veer towards the kind of Deep Purple and that kind of style, rock covers bands, but there has been a few original bands played here. The Defects for Belfast played here, and I'd like to say a special thanks to Glenn Kingsmore, who had a few pints with Rebellion a few weeks ago. And every now and then, a lot of different bands play in here, and we've done some things in here in the past.
I have. Charity
nights,
to Zib's
tribute nights, and we played a gig in here for our old pal Zib, who was the bass player in the Midnight Buskers, and raised money for charity.
And Mark Morris, the Blue Tones, he played in here. That was quite a good night. But it's been a kind of hub again, somewhat like Park Tavern. A lot of musicians and music type people drinking Fanny Gas Lights, and as a kind of a meeting place for a lot of the music people in Kilmarnock.
When we were younger, this was the pub we used to drink in. And it used to have bands on the tight. It's not a great setup because the bar is a big round thing in the middle of the flare, so
it's actually a good pub to play. I quite enjoy playing in there.
Up either side and at the back.
It's a good pub to play in. I enjoy it. The crowd's always good in it. And it's good to see. It's great. It's here. It's another venue. It's still here. It's still going strong.
It's still going. And
you know.
And it still has bands on a Friday or a Saturday night.
Friday nights,
even yet. So
still got the bands going. So long may it continue.
Long may it continue. Yep. Yes.
So that's Fanny Gas Lights, folks.
Fanny Gas Lights.
So obviously behind us here is a pile of rubble, I guess, but this was the site of Burlington and Berties, which was a massive part of the Kilmarnock music scene. Now, before it was Burlington and Berties, it was Kilmarnock Labour Club, and there was loads of bands played there at that time as well. And I was part of a group of young Kilmarnock musicians putting bands on in here back in the 80s. And one of the bigger gigs that was put on was the Primevals, very well-known Glasgow band, supported by the Mind Gorillas and the Whiskey Preachers. And I believe it was also the venue of one of the very, very early Trash Can Sinatra's gigs.
I recall seeing the Trash Can Sinatra's playing in here, one of their earliest gigs. It was still called the Labour Club back then. And then Laurie Headley, who owned Fanny Gas Lights, bought this place over, and we started to put bands on in here as well. And Biffy Clyro was one of the bands that was on in here. And there was lots of great bands played in here. Roddy Hart played in here, and later on we put on a wee festival.
There's your music
There's Your
live.
Music
It was like a
Live
charity festival.
And we had one of the nights was the Straw Dogs, Combat Rock, and
it was Modern World.
the Modern World.
Aye.
How did I forget that?
Aye, exactly.
Sadly, Combat Rock didn't play that night.
No, they couldn't play.
But,
couldn't play that.
But
night.
they did come and play again, and
I think we did it four times. Here's Your Music Live.
something like that.
It was really
And
good.
all the money went to charity, so it was everybody's a winner.
I mean, those days there was bands on every Friday and Saturday night in there. Great young bands like All My Logic and the Underclass and Cider Spiders.
We were a fantastic band.
Just great young bands like that.
And later on, Davey was involved in bringing bands like the UK Subs.
UK Subs,
and the
Vibrators with Big Hammer and Barry there, and I mean there was some great bands played in
And
there.
when you see it now, look at it. But this used to be a great venue, and this is one of the bigger venues in the town. So all the kind of your Modern World and your Straw Dogs and that, they all played their Christmas gigs in here because it was a bigger venue.
Well, you two venues. You the bar, because we had the Lurkers on there one Sunday night in the bar. So you had a smaller venue in there, and then you had the bigger hall. So you had the scope to bring smaller bands or bigger bands, and I must admit, Laurie was pretty good.
It was decent. And a wee side note, I had the very first pint in Burlington and Berties, because the opening night, we come up a wee bit early, and we just went to the bar, and I got a pint, and then Laurie Headley come in and says, "What are you doing with that?" His mum was supposed to get the first drink. I had half a pint, didn't maybe that time.
Did you pay for it?
Of
Oh,
course.
good man. You didn't give you a freebie then?
No. Ken Laurie.
Aye. I do
Laurie,
remember
if you're watching this, good man.
I do remember also the council, there was a twin town, Kulmbach in Germany, back when it was a Labour club, and they brought bands over and we played in there with the bands. It was 3 bands come over for Kulmbach in Germany. We played up. Do you remember the wee pool room up the stairs? It was in there and it was like back tight. And it was a great night. It was really, really good. But I had some great memories of Burlington and Berties. Of course, there's the infamous round room in there where we used to store all the gear. There was a lot of shenanigans went on in there. But it was some great times in there. And it's just a shame it's demise.
It's quite sad to see what was once a good venue look like it is now.
Yeah.
But nothing lasts forever.
Nothing does last forever, unfortunately. Not even us, mate.
No.
So that was Labour Club, Burlington Berties.
As you can see, this is the Saltire. This was formerly the Bray Head and Jolly's, and Dirty Martinis was a club up the stairs. And this is a place where Mania used to put a lot of bands on in here. Glenn Matlock. I remember Mike Peters putting a Storming set on in here from the Alarm. Dave Shat of the Alarm played in here and all. And Jackie Leavin from Doll by Doll played in here. And when Glenn Matlock played in here, his drummer was Javier for the Stereophonics, and he had James Stevenson on guitar, who's played with everybody for the Cult and the Alarm.
Generation X.
X. Well, Gen X then.
Gen X, aye.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
And
Gene Loves Jezebel as well.
Gene Loves Jezebel, aye. This was a great wee club up the stairs, and used to have bands on down the stairs and all.
Kind of acoustic stuff down the stairs and the bands up. So sometimes it was full band down the stairs as well. But I mean, the La Fontaine's played in here, and now they're selling out Barrowland. So, you know, Chris Hill for the Seahorses played here. Mark Morris for the Blue Tones played here. But it was a great wee club.
And a lot of local bands playing the Modern World. Were playing up the stairs, and the Longhorns played up the stairs, and last year's Men.
Yeah.
Straw Dogs.
Yeah. I think I was away for Straw Dogs by that time. But Barry and myself, in fact, Barry and me supported the Longhorns in here. We did a wee acoustic
That's
set.
right, I remember.
That was a great wee night. But a lot of local, like the Ideals, great young band, they played in here. Masters of the Sea, I think Red House played in here. I know, maybe after Red House, it was Dirty Angel that played in here, great young band. Of course, Red House were a great band as well.
And the guys for Ocean Colour Scene played in here.
That's right.
Oscar and Simon.
Yeah, Oscar and Simon.
And to be honest, I can't remember the last time I seen a band in here. Who it would be?
I don't know who it would have been.
Devilish Presley.
Aye, they were good.
Somebody like that.
Aye, they were really good. But
it was a great wee venue.
And
I always remember when the Modern World played it upstairs, the flare was going like that.
oh, you were sitting down the stairs in the bar, and it was bobbed up the stairs,
And
and
they
the
were
ceiling
worried
was
that everybody was
bouncing.
going to come through the
ceiling
flare.
was bouncing up and down. It was if
tremendous.
If you had a few Sherberts, it was a scary time. It was a great pub, and it was great. All the bands that played in there, but again, sadly, I don't think they put bands in there anymore. I think it's kind of
a function room
I think it's a
upstairs.
function room for parties and.
Which is sad because it was a good wee venue.
Aye.
And good memories in here.
It was good. It was good, but so that's it, folk. Now the Saltire, but formerly Braehead, Jollies, and Dirty Martinis.
We're now standing outside the Tartan Suite. This was previously Baker's nightclub, run by our good friend Gareth Kelly, who was a great supporter in bringing bands to Kilmarnock. And some of the bands that played in here, Jerry Cinnamon played a couple of times in here when he was unknown. And a lot of local bands still play in here. And there's a good selection of established people have played in here. Like Steve Craddock of Ocean Colour Scene played in here. John Power of Cast played. Who else?
Alabama 3 played in here. The Blue Tones played in here. Mark Morris played a couple of times. I think Chris Helm played in here. Gareth and Stumpy and wee Michael Lennon brought some great bands here. Mainly the kind of indie, kind of Britpop kind of scene. Echo Belly played in here as well. They were excellent, but they really did pull out all the stops. Some great bands playing in here.
And even still, this is the kind of place where a lot of bands still come to play. And whenever we put on gigs, it's usually in here now.
Aye, it's a great venue, it really is.
We try to champion the kind of local bands who don't really get a great break in Kilmarnock anymore because there's not a great deal of places to play. So this is a good wee venue, and we usually put on gigs with maybe 3 or 4 bands on to give them the opportunity to play because we like to support
local music.
Music.
Get the young bands in, get the music on.
Yeah.
But it's great that it's still there, you know, and Brain and Stevie are running it, and it's a great wee venue, the Tartan Suite. And it was great to play. We played it last week. The last ever Wetty Grippers gig was last week in here, and it was really enjoyable. We hope to put more gigs on in here, but the Baker's days were crazy. They were brilliant. It was great fun. And the guys that ran it were great guys, still are great guys.
And they always looked after us.
Aye, they really looked after you.
A good wee rider and all that.
Aye, absolutely brilliant. You can't ask for any more than that. And everyone was top notch, but they brought some great bands. Who'd ever thought Alabama 3 playing in there?
Jerry Cinnamon.
You know Jerry Cinnamon, who'd have thought it?
And the place used to be packed
all the time.
Oh, it was
packed all the time. It was well attended, it was well run. It was just a great place. And it's great that it's now, it's a different name, but it's great there's still bands playing
putting
here.
Bands on, there's a good wee setup in there.
So all is not lost. There's still bands playing, there's still venues in Killie, so that's it. Baker's, now the Tartan Suite. So kind of reached the end of our walkthrough video. We were kind of trying to do it in date order, so this was kind of the last venue, and for us it's probably the saddest sight of all, the Bellefield Tavern. Back in the day, myself and wee Willie Boland and Stumpy put some gigs on in here. This is before it became the venue it became. I think one of the best gigs we put on was the Termites. Absolutely loved that gig. What a band. Sold out in a matter of hours. It was in the lounge there. Absolutely fantastic. And we put on some other bands that time. It was wee Jim and Shirley that had the venue at the time. And it was great even then. But then the revolution started, didn't it?
It was about 7 years ago when Amanda and Bill took over the Bellefield Tavern, and the first ever paying gig they put on was XSLF, and the Sucks Pastels support it, Reaction support it, and the Modern World support it, and I always remember it. This is the start of something fantastic, and it really was, because they were roughly the same age as us. They were into the same kind of bands as us, and they were happy to bring all the bands they brought. And they brought bands like the Defects, 999, the Lurkers, but not just punk bands, lots of different things. Roddy Byers out of Specials, Neville Staples out of Specials played here, and lots of fantastic tribute bands, Combat Rock, Susie and the Budgies,
Sex Pistols Experience,
the Cureheads, the Sex Pistols Experience, and lots of great local bands. The Legion, well, Southern Approach played with the Longhorns that night, and the Plug Hole, and Wild Bill, and it was just a fantastic time because they had bands on every week. And a wee story, whenever Amanda sent me a text saying she'd get Wendy James for Transvision Vamp to play here, and I stayed in the flat right up there, right next door to the pub, and she said, would it be all right if Wendy James stayed at my flat? What guy's going to turn that down? I said, of course. But on the night, Wendy James went to stay at the Park Hotel at Rugby Park, and I ended up with all the band. So, but some fantastic nights here.
Oh, I was actually rehearsing that afternoon. Amanda phoned me and says, "What are you up to?" And I says, "Just rehearsing." She goes, "Could you go and pick up Wendy James and her band from the railway station?" I went, "Oh, absolutely." So off I went and picked them up. But was that? I mean, the Rosillos played in there a couple of times.
Aye.
999, we said them, didn't we? Vice Squad played in there. I mean, just bands you'd never expected. Amanda and Bill really pushed the boat out.
And bringing named bands. It wasn't just again, and some fantastic tributes. The Green Day tribute band, I remember, they were absolutely brilliant.
R.E.M. tribute was good as well.
Smith's tribute, Smith's tributes, and it was just unfortunate when they left. The guys that took it on, COVID just struck.
Gavin and Barry just didn't get a chance.
They just never got a chance.
Didn't get a chance
because they had lined up a couple of really good nights, good bands, but with COVID coming, that really brought an end to it. And the last band ever to play in here was the 3 Minute Heroes, and that was the night Stiff Little Fingers were supposed to be playing in Troon that night, but it got cancelled. So Nanias were going to Troon, so Amanda got the 3 Minute Heroes to play in here, and sadly that was the last band ever to play in here. So.
And now it's sitting in this rundown state.
And now they're going to make it into a peri-peri chicken place, which is madness. It was a great venue, and Amanda and Bill did really well.
They did great, and I think Gavin and Barry would have done brilliantly well as well. And I know Amanda and Bill were gutted about it, and Barry and Gavin were gutted about it, and they made a real go of it. And the pandemic struck. Obviously, it affected everybody, the pandemic, but it's just such a shame the way it went. We miss it desperately, the tavern.
And there was never like it, and I doubt there'll be anywhere like it again.
But
because
it
was such a fantastic venue. And handy for me, staying next door.
Absolutely. No new, son.
No new, but...
You're a Bellefield boy now.
But I miss it terribly.
That's been our Kilmarnock music walkthrough video. We really hope you've enjoyed it. We've had a good laugh today, haven't we?
We've had a good time.
But we'd like to finish by mentioning a few people who are sadly no longer with us, but made massive contribution to the Kilmarnock music scene. Apologies if I've left anyone out, but we'd just like to mention a few guys who are no longer with us. Mark Adams, Big Steve-O, Denham Cairns, Stevie Cusack, wee Billy Sampson, Bill Sampson Senior, Mark Gilroy, Big Zib, Dave Box Miller, Andy Sloan, Paul Cardy, Hugh Clinton, Keith Martin, Jerry Doyle and Big Mur. So just a mark of respect why Matt just mentioned those guys and appreciate the contribution they made to the Kilmarnock music scene. And
we hope you've liked this wee video. Like and subscribe. Don't know what that means, but I hear it all the time.
What
like and press that button. I don't know.
So as a wee treat to finish off, we're going to show you a wee video of Kilmarnock's very own Billy Bragg, Wild Bill, playing his own self-composed tune, The Ballad of Wild Bill, down at the Howard Park. So thanks for watching. Take it away, Billy.
A young man dreamed of one day playing in a punk rock band, singing to his records with a guitar in his hand, driving his parents crazy as they say, son, be quiet. But he kept strumming more and more and belting a white riot. Finally I got some mates and we all formed a band. We had dreams of playing stages all across the land. But one night in Kilmarnock, they left me standing there, and the crowd kept shouting, hey, get off, and throw pies through the air. Oh, I'm wild Bill, and for the fill, I'll play my song for fun. I might play Smash It Up, and I might play Tommy Gun. Life can be a riot, so be bold and have the will. 'Cause I'm your local Billy Bragg, and my name is Wild Bill. I felt like packing it in and calling it a day, but little did I know my destiny was on its way. When wee Kevin Mark said to me, he said, Bill, come and sing with us, because what you did last week, Wild Bill, man, that really took some guts. So I got myself a new guitar and I practiced till the dawn. I'm singing with last year's men now, I cannot get this wrong. Living with unemployment, I sang with all my might. And my first gig in Kelly, Vicky's one Friday night. Oh, I'm Wild Bill, and for the fill, I'll play my song for fun. I might play Smash It Up, and I might play Tommy Gun. Life can be a riot, so be bold and have the will. 'Cause I'm your local Billy Bragg, and my name is Wild Bill. The gigs, they kept on coming as each band called me up. Southern Approach and in the plug hole, I'm reaching for the top. My name was now on posters, it's time I made my mark. But finally I took the stage and played the Howard Park. Oh, I'm Wild Bill, and for the fill, I'll play my song for fun. I might play Smash It Up, and I might play Tommy Gun. Life can be a riot, so be bold and have the will. 'Cause I'm your local Billy Bragg, and my name is Wild Bill. Oh, I'm Wild Bill, and for the thrill, I'll play my song for fun. I might play Smash It Up, and I might play Tommy Gun. Life can be a riot, so be bold and have the will. 'Cause I'm your local Billy Bragg, and my name is Wild Bill. Oh, I'm your local Billy Bragg, and my name is Wild Bill.